If you have no appetite, that has the ability to lead to health problems, but the loss of appetite itself is a really strong sign that there are already issues going on. So in this video, I'm going to cover the 4 most common causes for a loss of appetite and help you understand what you can do to fix it. Let's jump in.
T.C. Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
In the comments section below, let us know right now, what's the hardest part about dealing with a loss of appetite for you? We'd love to hear that. Let's jump right into these underlying causes for a loss of appetite. The first one we need to cover is a lack of stomach acid, or hydrochloric acid, also known as HCl. It's very common for this to happen, and there's a wide variety of issues that can make a person not make enough stomach acid. But this becomes really problematic because the stomach acid is what helps us break that food down. So when we eat food and the body can't make enough hydrochloric acid to break that food down, the food has to break down by process of rotting and fermenting. And this rotting and fermenting process creates toxins and gases that can make us feel nauseous. Now, at the very least, even if you're not feeling nauseous, kind of view it like the body's sending a signal. It's like, hey, don't send anything else down here. We're still dealing with the mess that was created by the last stuff you sent down here. So that can really cause a person to lose their appetite just because the body can't break down the food that they're eating, and that food is now becoming a burden. It was supposed to nourish the body and give the body nutrients and energy sources and all this good stuff, but instead it created a burden for the body. So now the body has to figure out, well, hey, how can I stop this burden? Well, I can send a signal that says don't send anything else down here. I'm still dealing with a mess. So this is the most common cause for a lack of appetite. It's just an inability to break the food down so that the food can be used. If the food can't be used, now it's a problem. So the body wants to stop that problem. That's why for some people they'll eventually get at least some form of appetite back because the food eventually moves through the system. Now the rotting and fermenting takes a lot longer than breaking it down with HCl, so they can feel like having no appetite for a long or extended period of time. The second underlying cause for a loss of appetite is a lack of bile flow. So bile flow is very important, and I kind of view it as the other half of digestion. So when we eat the food, it needs to be acidified by HCl in the stomach. And then once the food is acidified, it'll leave the stomach and go into the duodenum, which is the first 10 inches of the small intestine. And that's when the gallbladder squirts bile down onto this acid product. And bile is an alkaline product, and it helps to neutralize those acids. It creates this sizzle that really helps us bust the food apart so that we can pull all the nutrients out of that food. But the real benefit of bile is that it helps us emulsify or break down our dietary fats. It's like this soapy substance that helps us break all those fats apart. So if bile isn't flowing correctly, which is very common, there's a lot of reasons that can cause a person's bile to become too thick and sticky to flow correctly. And then it's not coming down, it's not helping us with all those digestive processes. So when fats can't be emulsified so that they can be used by the body, they can become toxic, they can become rancid, and then they become a problem, just like that undigested food did. Same thing can happen with fats. So if fats don't get broken down, now they're a burden, and the body's got to figure out, well, what do I do with this? This is just becoming a problem, and I got to figure out how to get rid of it. And now it doesn't have the resources that it would have gotten from those fats, and now those fats have become more trouble. So this can create nausea from fats becoming rancid, but there's even another level to this problem. Maybe a person isn't even nauseous, but they still have no appetite because the body, again, is dealing with all these undigested fats. But here's where it gets worse. The bile is made by our liver, and what a lot of people don't know is that when the liver filters out filth and toxins from the body, it puts a lot of that filth into our bile, because the bile is supposed to be sent down through the intestinal tract, and then those filth and toxins can be moved out the back door in our stool. This is like one of the main exit strategies for filth and toxins in the body. It's the main detox pathway. So when this bile isn't flowing correctly, the liver filters out these toxins, but then the toxins aren't taken out the back door. So they get reassimilated into the system, and then the system becomes very toxic and the person can get nauseated, or they just lose their appetite altogether. So this is a very common cause for a lack of appetite. Now, the third issue that can cause loss of appetite is basically digestive malfunction. So a person might be having poor stomach acid or a lack of bile flow, or it can be a combination of both, and that's really common. And if it's the combination of both, that can really be problematic, because remember, it's that acid product leaving the stomach, meeting the alkaline bile from the gallbladder, that creates that sizzle. And the sizzle is really what we're living on. That's what helps us bust the food apart and get all those nutrients out. So when that sizzle isn't there, we're not accessing nutrients from the food, and plus the food is not breaking down, and it's going to do the rotting and fermenting action that creates a lot of that nausea and loss of appetite problem. But it's a lot of this digestive action that's supposed to trigger other steps along the line, like that stomach acid is supposed to trigger the bile to flow and the bicarb to be released and digestive enzymes and all these other functions that are important for digestion. And if there's a malfunction there, all these systems don't get triggered and they're not all working, and we're not really breaking down our food. Now, the problem with this is that the digestive process takes more resources to complete than just about anything else that the body does. So if it's not accessing nutrients from the food you're eating, the resources are going to go low. And now the body's going to figure out, well, how can I digest less? Oh, well, I'll just remove that signal that says be hungry and eat food. I'll remove that altogether, so we're not bringing in as much and creating this need for all these resources to break all this food down. Now, this will make a little bit more sense when we step into the underlying cause number 4, which is an infection. So think about this, if you get sick, a lot of times you're just not hungry. And that's because a lot of the body's resources are going towards fighting off this invader. So you can kind of lose your appetite so that the body doesn't have to use all these resources to digest food. It can spend more of those resources on fighting off the invader. Well, here's a problem. A lot of times people will have an infection and they don't really know it because they're not really sick. Infections can show up in a wide variety of ways. And especially if that infection is in the form of some type of overgrowth of bacteria, yeast, fungus, any of that stuff that can happen in the stomach or the small intestine, then that's going to create and magnify all of those digestive issues. One thing to look at is that a lot of these like bacterial overgrowths that can occur in the stomach or small intestine, they have a waste product that's very alkaline. And that alkaline waste can either neutralize our stomach acid, so maybe a person is making enough stomach acid but it's getting neutralized by a bacterial overgrowth in the stomach, or that alkaline waste can make the intestinal tract too alkaline so that the food can't move through at a proper pace, and if it's moving through too slowly, it'll rot and ferment and create all those chemicals and burdens that the body now has to deal with. So an infection can be very problematic, and it's common for a person to have an overgrowth in their digestive tract and not really know that. And the most interesting part is that an overgrowth like we're talking about can really be connected to all of these digestive malfunctions. And it could be an issue of, well, did the overgrowth get in because there was no HCl there? That HCl in our stomach not only breaks our food down, it's also the barrier to the body. It fries any kind of microbes that come in an acid bath. And when that HCl barrier isn't there, then these little varmints can come right in and set up camp and have a party and have a great time. So a person could develop an infection due to a lack of stomach acid, but a lack of stomach acid could also be created due to this infection that has reduced the ability to break the food down and reduced the ability for the body to access the nutrients needed to make the hydrochloric acid. So this can be a chicken or egg thing where you don't really know which one caused which, and the reality is it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you correct the situation. So to figure out if you have aspects of digestion that may not be working correctly, or if you might be dealing with some type of overgrowth, we have a totally free digestion course that you can just do online, and we'll put a link to that totally free course in the link below this video in the description. So that course will walk you through the process of figuring out, are there aspects of digestion that aren't working right for me, and if so, what steps can help me correct that? But for now, be sure to watch our playlist on optimizing digestion to gain more insights of what may be going on with your digestion. I can't wait to hear about your results.